amidst the exhaustion of fabulous theologies, was in itself such a miracle that upon its utterance from his lips, it destroyed all the ancient superstitions. His endless prayers, his mystic conversations with God, his death and his triumph after death, all these attest not to an imposture but to a firm conviction which gave him the power to restore a dogma. This dogma was twofold. The unity of God and the immateriality of God. The former telling what God is, the latter telling what God is not. Philosopher, orator, apostle, legislator, warrior, conqueror of ideas, restorer of rational beliefs, of a cult without images, the founder of 20 terrestrial empires and of one spiritual empire, that is Muhammad. As regards all standards by which human greatness may be measured, we may well ask, is there any man greater than he? The personality of Muhammad, it is most difficult to get into the whole truth of it. Only a glimpse of it one can catch. What a dramatic succession of picturesque scenes. There is Muhammad, the General Muhammad, the King Muhammad, the Warrior Muhammad, the Businessman Muhammad, the Preacher Muhammad, the Philosopher Muhammad, the Statesman Muhammad, the Orator Muhammad, the Reformer Muhammad, the Refuge of Orphanage Muhammad, the Protector of Slaves Muhammad, the Emancipator of Women Muhammad, the Judge Muhammad, the Saint Muhammad, and in all these magnificent roles, in all these departments of human activities, he is like a hero. Orphanhood is the extreme of helplessness, and his life upon this earth began with it. Kingship is the height of all material power, and his life ended with it. From an orphan boy to a persecuted refugee, then to an overlord, spiritual as well as temporal, of a whole nation and arbiter of its destinies, with all its trials and temptations, with all its vicissitudes and changes, its lights and shades, its ups and downs, its terror and splendor, he has stood the fire of the world and come out unscathed to serve as a model in every phase of life. His achievements are not limited to one aspect of life, but cover the whole field of human conditions. Muhammad, the greatest. If, for instance, greatness persists in the purification of a nation, steeped in barbarism and immersed in absolute moral darkness, that dynamic personality who was transformed, refined and uplifted an entire nation, sunk low as the Arabs were, and made them the torch-bearer of civilization and learning, has every claim to that greatness. If greatness lies in unifying the discordant elements of society by the ties of brotherhood and charity, the prophet of desert has got every title to this distinction. If greatness consists in reforming those wrapped in a degrading superstition and pernicious practices of every kind, the Prophet of Islam has wiped out superstitions and irrational fear from the hearts of millions. If it lies in displaying high morals, Muhammad has been admitted by friends and foes as Al-Amin and Al-Sadiq, the trustworthy and the truthful. If the conqueror is a great man, here is a person who rose from a helpless orphan and a humble creature to be the ruler of Arabia, the equals of Khusro's and Caesar's, one who founded a great empire that has survived all these 14 centuries. If the devotion that a leader commands is the criterion of greatness, the Prophet's name even today exerts a magic charm over millions of souls spread all over the world. The unlettered prophet. He had not studied the philosophy in the school of Athens or Rome, Persia, India or China. Yet he proclaimed the highest truth of eternal value to mankind. Unlettered himself, he could yet speak with an eloquence and fervor which moved man to tears of ecstasy. Born an orphan and blessed with no worldly goods, he was loved by all. He had studied at no military academy, yet he could organize his forces against tremendous odds and gained victories through the moral forces which he marshaled. Gifted men with a genius for preaching are rare. The Socrates included the perfect preacher among the rarest kinds in the world. Hitler, in his main camp, has expressed similar view. He says, and I quote, "A great theorist is seldom a great leader. An agitator is far more likely to possess these qualities. He will always be a better leader, for leadership means the ability to move masses of men. The talent to produce ideas has nothing in common with the capacity for leadership," unquote. But he says, and I quote, "The union of the theorist, organizer and leader in one man is the rarest phenomena on the earth. Therein consists greatness," unquote. In the person of the Prophet of Islam, the world has seen this rarest phenomena on the earth, walking in flesh and blood. Thomas Carlyle, in his book Heroes and Heroes Worship, England 1841, states, and I quote, "A poor, hard-toiling, ill-provided man, careless of what vulgar men toil for, not a bad man, I should say, something better in him than hunger of any sort, are these wild Arab men fighting and jostling 23 years at his hand, in close contact with him, always would not have reverenced him so. They were wild men, bursting ever and anon into quarrel, into all kinds of fierce sincerity, without right worth and manhood. No man could have commanded them. They called him prophet, you say? Why, he stood there face to face with them, bare, not enshrined in any mystery, visibly clouting his own cloak, cobbling his own shoes, fighting, counseling, ordering in the midst of them. They might have been what kind of a man he was. Let him be called what you like. No emperor with his tiaras was obeyed as this man in a cloak of his own clouting. During 23 years of rough actual trial, I find something of a veritable hero necessary for that of itself," unquote. And more wonderful still, is what the Reverend Bosworth Smith remarks, and I quote, head of state as well as the church, he was Caesar and Pope in one. But he was Pope without Pope's pretensions, and Caesar without the legions of Caesar, without a standing army, without a bodyguard, without a police force, without a fixed revenue. If ever a man had the right to say that he ruled by a right divine, it was Muhammad, for he had all the powers without their supports. He cared not for the dressing of power. The simplicity of his private life was in keeping with his public life. Unquote. Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, untainted and pure. After the fall of Makkah, more than 1 million square miles of land lay at his feet. Lord of Arabia, he mended his own shoes and coarse woolen garments, milked the goats, swept the hearth, kindled the fire, and attended the other menial offices of the family. The entire town of Medina, where he lived, grew wealthy in later days of his life. Everywhere there was gold and silver in plenty, and yet in those days of prosperity, many weeks would elapse without a fire being kindled in the hearth of the king of Arabia. His food